What are you guys doing?
I know people that talk like that for real.
Andy sounds like he's high as shit. What sort of place is this?
Yeah. And this is just the beginning of this nightmare of a cartoon.
Dude keeps like melting into himself and then comes back out.
Okay, so right now he's being kind of friendly to them, right? Wait till he turns.
Mean?
Yeah, he gets way mean. He tries to kill them.
Drowning in caramel would do it. Who's the... When did this come out? This is a 1970s joint, right?
Yeah, something like that.
It's got to be.
A Raggedy and Andy.
It's like fart sound after fart sound. I swear, dude.
A 1977 animated feature, a Raggedy and Andy musical adventure. It came out in 77. So this comes out a year after I was born. And it scared the fuck out of me.
Happy birthday, Mark.
It had a budget of $4 million and it only made $1.35 million. Nice. It was a failure. A failure at the box office.
It's a Raggedy and Andy cartoon.
Oh, you don't know how big
blockbuster?
Ronnie Adams.
I do. Sort of.
Oh my goodness. He's all jiggly and just ugh.
You know
He's
what?
Singing right now. Sorry,
there's a song on here called "You're My Friend" that's sung by Captain and the Parrot. I actually sing that still. Like some of this stuff is still stuck in my head, you know, despite the fact that I hate it. And I absolutely will sing some of these songs. Like they're still with me. Like I'll just grab Jonas and and give him a big hug, and give him all kinds of kisses and start going, yeah, I like you because you're my friend. And he's like screaming, get off me.
Let go of my face, Dad. Stop singing into my eyes. What happened to your British accent, Jonas? I've forgotten how to British.
Oh, man. All right, I've got to stop this. We got to get this episode started.
So
Shit Monster McGee is scary. I mean, he's pretty frightening.
Okay.
Yeah, if you're a pansy.
Well, dude, I mean...
Whatever, Winfrey.
Shut up.
It's just a amorphous like blob that keeps forming and then reforming and then farting and then
he's like
reforming some more. I mean, well, yeah, kind of pretty much, just a little bit softer. And
I got to read this. Despite the considerable amount of talent, Raggedy Ann and Andy: A Musical Adventure received mixed reviews. Many critics found the movie hard to watch, complaining that the plot moved too slowly, had little focus, and was burdened by too many musical numbers. Many of the characters were considered too disturbing for children. Thank you. The settings, and I feel validated now, but the settings and the rest of the film's concepts were praised. There was also some adult humor and subtext, mainly in the Captain Contagious, whose mustache grows erect and who performs pelvic thrusts when he first is the character of Babette. Babette. Raggedy Ann and Andy have very little character development. They move from place to place, meeting strange characters, but the focus is always on the new character, and they serve little purpose.
Character development in a cartoon movie for kids about ragdolls.
Well, they said that despite the amount of talent, who was there some talented actors that portrayed these characters?
Let's see. Diddy Kong as Raggedy Ann.
Diddy Kong?
Khan.
Oh, my bad.
Edith Diddy Khan is an American film, stage, and television actress best known for her work as Frenchie in Grease. Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah.
And Denise in the TV series Benson. Khan was born in Brooklyn, New York, and the daughter of a clinical psychologist. And you have Mark Baker, who is Raggedy Andy. He's an American stage and film actor. He is best known for the title role in Harold Prince's revival of Candide, for which he received a Tony nomination. So, I mean, yeah, this is obviously some pretty big actors in this.
Okay. Playing the part of the ship monster, Ronnie Adams. All right. You guys ready to get started?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get this party started. All right. Well, we've been live for a few minutes, so fodder for the
Oh,
gag.
good.
So, like I said,
make a fart noise.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if you ever wanted to do a marathon of what nightmare factories I grew up with, those are the three. It's this movie, any of the Rankin and Bass stuff. But if you had to narrow it down, it would be Return of the King, and we're gonna do The Last Unicorn on Thursday. So there you go.
I'm pretty certain it was The Hobbit. Oh shit. Already starting. I'm pretty sure it was The Hobbit that we watched in church, because it was in Sunday school or whatever. We were just killing time. And I remember the dragon, much of what happened, in the actual first Hobbit movie. Was it the first one where the dragon attacks the village? Well,
yes.
Anyway. Okay.
Yes.
So anyway, I remember watching that happen, and I think I've seen that one twice, but I didn't even know they did like the sequels animated. I only thought it was just The Hobbit itself, and then that was it. But they did Lord of the Rings.
Okay, so there's two different iterations of this. There's a Lord of the Rings. There's a Lord of the Rings movie that incorporates the first two books, and it ends with the Two Towers, specifically the oh god, what's the name of the Helm's Deep? It ends with the Battle of Helm's Deep, and it just and they never really resolve the ring. The movie just ends. It's like, and the good guys won because they defeated the orcs at Helm's Deep.
Oh,
and like Frodo just goes wandering into the woods.
I mean, let's be honest. That's probably a better ending than the movie. I love the movies, but that ending where they're all rolling around in bed together.
What?
All right, so this is a Ralph Bakshi production. And so that's this. This is a 1978 American British Spanish animated film directed by Ralph Bakshi, and it's just the first two books. And then there was Rankin and Bass, for some odd reason, only did The Hobbit and then Return of the King. Yeah.
All right.
I don't know why. I'm actually going to the wiki now to find out like why they never finished the. Okay, I'm going to go right to sequel. The film was originally intended to be distributed as The Lord of the Rings Part 1. According to Bakshi, when he completed the film, United Artists executives told him that they were planning to release the film without indicating that a sequel would follow because they felt audiences would not pay to see half of a film. I told them they can't drop the Part 1 because people are going to come in thinking they'll see the whole film, and it's not there. We had a huge fight, and they released it as Lord of the Rings. So when it came to the end, people were stunned in the theater, even worse than I realized they would be, because they were expecting to see the whole film. People kept telling me I never finished the film, and I kept saying, yeah, that's right. You are correct, sir. I'm going to skip down here. Eventually, the Rankin and Bass studio, the company behind the 1977 adaptation of The Hobbit, released The Return of the King in 1980 as a sequel to The Hobbit, but also completing the story begun in the Bakshi films by adapting the final novel, though Rankin and Bass Productions offered no stylistic continuation from the earlier film. Yeah, it's horrifyingly worse. I could much more tolerate this iteration of the animated Lord of the Rings. The fucking Rankin and Bass one is, like I said, it's a goddamn nightmare factory.
I just hopped into our stats to take a look and see if our the old geolocation has changed. Looks like we have some listeners over in Pasadena, Maryland.
Are you talking about like what we're doing right now, or?
Yeah, I'm just looking at for what is this? The last 30 days?
We're still big in Russia.
Are we?
Yeah, we're huge in Russia.
Oh, that's right. Krasnoyarsk, Russian Federation.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened. Apparently the Russians really like our brand of humor.
All of us are off of here now. Well, except for me. No, I'm on here. I'm the last. I'm in 10th. You're not on here anymore, Mark.
Valrico's gone?
Valrico is off of here. And
yeah, I'm looking at it now. So, like, by country-wise, obviously United States has the most listens, but that would make sense. Then Canada, then Russia, then Japan. We're big in Japan. My favorite is that we're big in.
We were big in Japan at one point.
Yeah, we were. My favorite though is that we're also big in Iraq.
Oh, nice. All right, got one faithful Iraqi listening. Yes, we appreciate that.
Sure.
Tell your share and tell your friends.
So I would imagine. So yeah, Pasadena, Maryland, Graysonville, Maryland, Ashburn, Virginia, San Jose, California, Maryland. Richmond, Virginia, Queenstown, Maryland. Wow, we are huge in Maryland.
Yeah, that's kind of strange. I know.
Why are all of our fans from Maryland?
I know two. Well, I know two people that live. No, they're in Delaware.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Delaware.
Well, I mean that's close, but yeah, I don't know.
And Rio Grande, Texas.
Don't know anybody there either. Ronnie, you're off of here from. North Carolina has gone off of the map, so off the top 10 anyway. So that just means you're not listening, Ronnie Adams.
I totally am.
Well, like you're participating in the podcast or something and already know what's going to be on. No excuses.
You gentlemen bore me.
All right. Enough of this yaggity schmackety. So we've got Rankin and Bass to look forward to come Thursday, and then we'll.
I don't know.
The last unicorn. Are you not going to be on?
Who, me?
Yeah, but I don't know if we're looking forward to it or not.
No, I don't plan to sleep that night.
Oh, goodness. Well, now. All right. So last unicorn coming up on Thursday. Tonight, though, here on the Source Material Podcast, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to be talking about a book that came out in 1987. Looks like it was 3 issues, came out between August and October of 1987. Lot of things come from the 80s, especially in 1986, 1987 in my memory. But this is a book that flew under my radar. I didn't know it was there. I think I might have been collecting some comics at the time, but again, I was only 9 years old at the time. So understandably, this was a little bit more mature. And what book am I discussing along with my buddies, Ronnie Adams? How you doing tonight, Ronnie?
I'm well. How are you?
Doing good, sir. Doing good. And Mark Radlich, are you ready to stay awake and make it through this one?
Yes, sir. You have my full undivided attention. I swears it.
He swears it. He swears it. So the book we're talking about tonight is a DC Green Arrow title called Longbow Hunters. This came out in, like I said, 1987, and it was penciled and, on the art, written and art done by a guy by the name of Mike Grell. Now, this guy is I think he's most notably known for this book launching.
He's internationally known, but he's known to rock a microphone because he gets stupid. I mean, outrageous. All right, go ahead.
The Humpty Dance.
I won. I won the bet how long it would take.
Not long at all, eh?
No.
5 minutes in. Yeah, he wrote this story, and then I think that this was so well received that they said that they wanted him to do the actual Green Arrow title after this, and he did for quite a while. I think for like close to, oh man, here, give me just a second. I've got it right. 80 issues, 1988 to 1993 on the ongoing Green Arrow series. So real quick before we get into the book, what I want to know is we're going to talk about the character and our familiarity with said Ollie Queen Green Arrow. So we'll start with you, Ronnie Adams. I mean,
yeah.
Do you remember when you first heard of Green Arrow, and have you read a whole lot? Go ahead.
Before Ronnie jumps in here, you didn't ask me what we're synergizing with this week.
Oh, good question. Are we synergizing with something?
We certainly are, Ollie.
Tell me what it is.
Ollie?
Ollie Queen.
No, Oliver and Hardy.
Oh, no.
As many times as I've said that never mind.
Here's the bit, Mark. You tell the jokes, I don't get them. All right.
Fucking Jesse no cell starcher. So when this airs on the Rattlegion Broadcasting Network, that will be the same week as the Arrow season 6 finale. So this will air, then we'll do a TV party for the entire season up to the point of the finale, and then the finale will air that Thursday.
Okay. All right. So tying into that, we're doing Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters, and I want to get an idea of your experience with the character there, Ronnie Adams. What do you remember when you first paid attention to Green Arrow, and did you read Green Arrow? I know we've there's probably going to be a mention of the actual series, so tell me about Green Arrow in your life, Ronnie Adams.
Kind of knew who Green Arrow was when I was younger. He was just another arrow shooting
son of a gun.
Son of a gun. I mean, I didn't think much of him until I got older, and I realized, he's like only second to Batman as being a detective, and he's actually pretty awesome in his own right.
Mm-hmm. Who did you recognize first as an arrow shooting son of a gun? Hawkeye or Green Arrow?
Probably Green Arrow.
Okay.
I was too young to think, oh, that's a ripoff of Batman. He's a rich kid who wanted to be a vigilante, but and even when I was old enough to think that, it really wasn't true. I mean, because there's so much more to that character. So not much more, but there is more. But I was pretty young when I first realized who Hawkeye was. I mean, Green Arrow was.
No, you were right the first time.
Well, I do recall. I think my first. I'm trying to think of my first memory with Green Arrow, and honestly, the first time I ever really paid attention to or read anything, I don't even know if I read a whole lot with Green Arrow in it. I wasn't a big Justice League guy, so I didn't read a whole lot of that. And DC wasn't my, that just wasn't my thing when I was a kid. I've read some, but man, I would be really hard pressed to tell you any really good Green Arrow stories as to who the character was. But probably my first ever exposure to Green Arrow and who he was Smallville, because Oliver Queen. Yeah, dude.
Even as a kid, I knew Green Arrow and Green Lantern.
Well, I mean, I knew who they were, but I didn't read anything that had them in it. So I know, man, and probably the first time I ever.
I'm acting insulted. I'm like, how dare you?
How dare you not know who this is? But yeah, Smallville. Do you remember his brief appearance? I think he was in there. Well, he was in there for a little while, actually. I think he was one of the more main characters.
This before, I never really watched Smallville.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Oliver Queen did make an appearance in there for a little while.
Yeah.
So I knew that. And then all of a sudden the CW show hits, which is Arrow. And I have not watched one single episode of that. So this is a character that still continues to fly under my radar. And this will be one of the first books I think I've ever read that was dedicated solely to this character. Mark Radulich, sir, Green Arrow.
Yeah, I'm definitely much more familiar with Hawkeye.
Okay.
Again, West Coast Avengers fan.
Yep.
Big Avengers fan. I really didn't read a lot of DC growing up, so yeah, I didn't really know too much about. And first of all, like, I knew Hawkeye and was familiar with Hawkeye because of his association with the Avengers, and I liked what they did with him. But if you were to say to me, okay, Here's an array of heroes for you to get into. Do you like this one? Do you like this one? Or do you like the guy with the bow and arrow? The guy with the bow and arrow is not getting picked. And so,
yeah.
So my first exposure to Green Arrow was probably Justice League Unlimited. And I don't know if you're familiar with Justice League Unlimited, but it was the Cartoon Network Justice League show that followed the Justice League that had Hawkgirl, Jon Stewart, and then the Justice League regulars. Justice League Unlimited was essentially like the last years of the Super Friends, where they just built a space station, like the Watchtower, and every superhero on Earth was in it. And then every episode was kind of divided in amongst like a smaller group of the heroes that were on the space station. And I remember like one of the first episodes, it might have been the debut of Justice League Unlimited, was them trying to talk Green Lantern into joining the Justice League. And he was like, yeah, I'm an auxiliary member and I need my independence. I don't really want to be part of the league. And there was another line that that really stuck out to me, especially as an adult, because this was only a few years ago. He talked about like his liberal beliefs, and his hippie upbringing. Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, that's really funny to see that, that's how they wrote that character. When Arrow first debuted on the CW, I had zero interest in it because, again, bow and arrow. I like my superheroes to be super, not CrossFitters. And come on, that got no reaction.
None. Sorry.
What's CrossFit?
Really?
I told you what my bit was. You tell the jokes, I don't get them.
What's fit?
There you go. That's where I was going.
I don't know if I want to do this anymore. But anyway, so I like my superheroes to have superpowers, not to be not to be good at like Boy Scout stuff. And it would literally take several recommendations in cancer for me to get into Arrow.
Good Lord, man.
Folks, he's not kidding.
Yeah, not an exaggeration. Now it's okay because again, I don't really feel like it's the way that he's represented in the comics. I feel like they gave him all of Batman's personality and a bow. Mm-hmm. But I tell you, when I decided that I wanted to spend at least one TV party talking about the Arrow series and specifically season 6 with my good friend Ronnie Adams of the Screaming Boy podcast, and Sean Comer, I started looking for recommendations for Green Arrow books because I really knew nothing about the character. And the Longbow Hunters was the most highly recommended story he's ever been a part of.
Well, I think that is rather appropriate. That's a good descriptor here because I was going to read this book for the first time I've ever really jumped into a story about Green Arrow, and we'll get to this at the end, but I was impressed, just to put it that way. I don't know much about Mike Grell, and I don't know much about history, right, Mark Radulich?
Don't know much about history. This is your own damn fault because you got me started.
Let's hop over to the wiki real quick. Talk about Mike Grell, best known for his work on books such as Green Lantern / Green Arrow, The Warlord, and John Sable. I think Pat mentioned John Sable Freelance. Sorry, Pat mentioned The Warlord, which again, that's another book that I had no interest in. I can tell you, I've seen covers of the Warlord, and I had no interest in picking that up. Now, after reading this and knowing Mike Grell had his hand on the Warlord, my stance might change. But anyway, he's had his hand in a lot of books throughout time here. I mean, mainly it looks like he started in 1973, 1974, Superboy and the Legion of Superheroes, The Warlord in 76, Tarzan from 81 to 83, and like I said, John Sable Freelance. So there's our creator. Now this guy, he had this idea for this book, 3 issues. He does the art and the story. Now that's impressive. You don't see that too often. And this came out in 87, hot off the heels. If not, man, when did the Dark Batman story come out there? Help me out, Ronnie Adams. Why can I not think of we've covered it on this podcast.
The Killing Joke?
Not The Killing Joke. The one the movie's based off of.
The Dark Knight Returns?
Thank you very much. Don't act like I should have known it. Because what happened...
I'm sorry that the host of the podcast didn't know.
1986 is when Dark Knight Returns comes out by Frank Miller. Now, that's a portrayal of a superhero that we all know and love, and going back to his dark roots. And I think...
Dark Knight Returns is...
Tell me.
Was it 86?
Yeah, it says Dark Knight Returns is a 1986 4-issue comic book miniseries starring Batman. So Mike Grell...
got gritty in the 80s, didn't they?
They did, dude. I mean, we're talking Watchmen. We're talking Dark Knight Returns. And so you could kind of see that influence on this book, and we'll talk a little bit about that. Now, the character Green Arrow, just to throw out some statistics here, first appearance, More Fun Comics number 73 in November of 1941. So he's been around for a while. Guess what, Mark Radulich? Back in 2001, and I came pretty close, and it may still be on the agenda at some point. In 2001, there was a storyline called Quiver that brought back Green Arrow kind of into the mainstream. Guess who wrote it?
Frank Miller.
Kevin Smith.
Oh, yeah.
He takes over the Green Arrow. I think that might have been Kevin Smith's first try. Well, maybe not, because I can't remember which came out first. The Daredevil story that we read.
No,
I can't remember. Yeah, attempted to read.
That was a lot of words.
Or if Green Arrow Quiver came out first. But either way, I do have that one, and I think I got it signed by the artist even. So, all right. Let's get into the story itself. This is the Longbow Hunters, okay? So I'm going to break it down. We got 3 issues to cover. We're going to kind of stop at the end of each issue, maybe bring up some talking points and what we liked, what we didn't like about the book, and then we'll move on to issue 2 and issue 3. So here we go. Now, issue 1, I don't even know if it has a title. I do know issue 2 and issue 3 have a couple different titles. So I was looking on the digital copy that I have, and I did not see a title. Now, there may be a title to it, but we're just going to call it issue 1 for right now. All right. So issue 1. There's a killer on the loose in Seattle that the papers are calling the Seattle Slasher, who finds prostitutes and viciously murders them. Luckily, on his 43rd birthday, Ollie Queen relocates from Star City to Seattle, Washington, the home of his girlfriend, Dinah Lance. He has changed his costume and abandoned his use of trademark trick arrows for more traditional archery equipment. When a drug-addled woman crashes through their front window of their florist business, Dinah resolves to investigate and later becomes the Black Canary and attempts to infiltrate a drug racket, which may have ties to a guy by the name of Kyle Magnor, a wealthy shipping magnate. We get the origin of Ollie Queen in this issue, as he was washed up on an island after a freak boating accident. His drive to survive led him to become adept at using a bow and arrow. But there was one thing he learned on that island that has since stuck with him to this day. Ollie abhors killing. After a passionate night in bed, Ollie...
Really?
Well, that was some fascinating artwork.
Yeah, man, you talk about some mature stuff in here. I mean, for a 1987 DC comic book, you didn't see very much of what you saw in this book usually.
Well, I mean, you think about it though. I mean, you saw a lot more language and well, not a lot more, but you saw a lot of it that you didn't really realize was in there. But you think of like Watchmen, this,
sure,
and a few other titles. It was there.
Well, yeah, it was there, but it was rare. That's the thing. I mean, DC off the shelf comic book, you are not seeing this because that's not going to be. I would assume code approved to be sold on the store shelves. And I don't know if that was actually, I don't even know if the code was on this. I have the actual cover here. Let me pull that back up. I just want to look and see if, no, I don't have the cover. Never mind. But I can tell you that, you know, there's a little bit of nudity when it comes to like, it's not like really.
Yeah. Some of the nudity is pretty hot. Some of it's pretty, you know, pretty bloody.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. It's it's not overbearing, and it's not what this guy was trying to. It had its place in the comic.
It's not pornographic. Okay, it's not like
that's the word.
It's not like heavy metal magazine.
So there you go. But yes, after
you know what it's not like?
Tell me.
Fucking in the butt. Fucking in the
Oh
butt.
my
Fucking in the butt.
Why do you encourage this?
Ronnie's favorite callback ever.
No.
Yeah, buddy.
I quit.
Passionate night in bed. After a passionate night in bed, Ollie confides in Dinah that he would like to start a family, but Dinah does not want any part of it because of the insanity of their lives. Ollie feels dejected and confused. As Dinah goes to investigate the drug leads, Ollie focuses on the Seattle slasher. Oliver tracks the killer to the abandoned Seattle underground section of the city, discovering that the killer is a disturbed ex-tunnel rat from the Vietnam War. The slasher jumps Oliver and gets away to apparently kill again, but a mysterious female archer with an elaborate dragon tattoo on her arm shoots the slasher, as well as a passing motorist, before vanishing. All right, so that's issue 1. And we kind of leave it with, holy crap, who's this other archer out there taking with no compunction not to take a life there. So Mark, I mean, what do you think of the first issue here?
You know, I thought it was a little confusing, to be honest with you, at the beginning. I mean, okay, there was one element of it that confused me because I feel like they showed Dinah in the and tell me if I'm wrong about this, because like I said, I might have just gotten confused. But I thought Dinah was the one with the black curly hair wearing the Slug T-shirt, and then they show a scene with him and her in bed, and she's got the traditional long blonde black canary hair.
Black canary's always worn a wig.
Yes, this is something.
Why was she wearing the wig in bed then?
Hold on. This is something that I actually learned at the trivia that I did last year with Kapow. This question came up in the wizard that I was running through the questions on. It asked, what is Black Canary's hair color? And it became a point of contention as one said blonde and the other one said brunette. And I was like, well, what, you know, why is everybody so strong on whatever side they're taking? And of course, the answer I think came out in the book as blonde. But everybody, you know, those guys were like, well, wait a second. She wears a wig. Her actual hair color is a brunette. So yeah, she's wearing a wig. Now, Mark, you're going to ask me, you're going to ask Ronnie Adams why this chick dresses up to get into bed with Ollie Queen.
Yeah, could you guys give me some very intimate psychological details about women and their bedroom habits? Ronnie, you first.
Crap, dude.
I don't like this. I am an adult and I still feel like I need one.
All the time. Yeah.
Hang on. Can I let's examine this closely. They weren't doing anything kinky. They were having looks like good old traditional man on woman sex. Why would she wear a wig in the bed?
I mean, they're not pulling out the leather helmets and the whips or anything.
Exactly.
I mean, but it is to spice it up a little bit. To, you know, it's not Donna and Ollie. It's Black Canary and
but he's not wearing his Robin Hood cap. I mean, why is she the only one playing dress up?
How do you know he didn't start out with it?
And it just got lost in the throes of passion?
Sure.
I think, okay, seriously. You'll notice that there's a theme throughout this book that I think he's turning 43. He's no spring chicken. That comes up quite a bit throughout this book. And I think that Dinah knows that. you know, as a girl that, as a woman that's been at his side a lot of her career and, you know, at his side relationship wise, she sees that. I mean, there's plenty of times that my wife can probably tell that I may not be feeling as a 20, 25-year-old as I'd like to. And she's going to, you know, she'll do something that nothing. I'm not going to get into stuff about comparing it to this. What I'm talking about,
dear God, man,
she would, you know, she's sensitive enough to understand that, you know, I'm getting older and I'm not going to, I'm going to feel kind of down in the dumps. I don't like getting old. I don't like feeling old. And she's going to, you know, pat me on the back and say, it's okay. You know, it's all right. And that's what I think she's doing here is she's, you know, like trying to spice some things up, make her man feel good about himself. Remember the good old days. And that's a lot of what I feel we get out of this book is Ollie's getting old. I think I read in the wiki, he dies in about 3 or 4 more years after this. He actually gets killed in an explosion in the continuity. So, you know, this character's been around for a long time. And that's my guess is he's
been around for
well, we said 41 since 41. So this is going on 40 years at this point in time. But yeah, and there's my take on it, Mark. I think it's her way of kind of making him feel young again. How's that?
Okay, so our contention here is that that's all present day. None of that was flashback to when she might have had, you know, real blonde hair, and she just in the midst of everything threw the wig on.
She has the costume.
Did you miss the panel when she was in the costume?
Oh, that's right. Okay, okay. I don't know. I would also feel like in the throes of passion, her wig would have become askew.
It does stay on quite well.
Can we stop saying throes of passion?
Throes of passion.
The throes of passion.
Or both of y'all said it 2 more times.
Mark,
I don't like it.
How's that song go? What would they may have been doing in bed?
No. Oh. No, absolutely not. No, absolutely not. I'm drawing a line.
All right.
You know what Dinah may have said to Ollie?
No.
She may have said,
"No,
I want your sex, baby."
Oh, okay, all right.
Okay, that was much worse than I thought it was going to be.
Some 1980s George Michael there, I think, right?
Yeah.
Good call. All right, Ron, go ahead.
So anyway, you were asking me my opinion, and I got very stuck on the wig thing.
You did. I mean, I don't know
really
why
couldn't
that
get
was
past
the
it.
point of contention for you in this whole book.
So I was wondering where they got the Shadow character from the first season or 2 of Arrow. You know, that he meets on Luan Yao or Lin Chao. Or, yeah. And of course, she ends up being the other Archer in this story. So I thought that was fun. It's a little slow to get started because you think this is about him chasing after the serial killer, and the serial killer I think ends up dead pretty quickly. And then what this really is about is him chasing this woman who's putting arrows through a bunch of fat cats.
Mm-hmm.
That seemed to be what the story was. And I was like, okay. I mean, I wasn't disinterested, and I thought that's a fine tale to tell. I feel like it just kind of takes a while getting there.
The 80s references, there's not a whole lot, but they're fun to pick out.
I'm telling you, the entire time I read this, I heard the steel drum music from Commando. I was like, this is perfect. This is an 80s action movie.
I like how there's, you know, the girl who comes flying through their window. She's on crack. She's on crack cocaine.
And right after I think like Dinah's put up all those post bills or whatever, you know, she's got this whole wall decked out, and then this woman goes crashing through the wall. Yeah. I just needed her to yell out, "Oh yeah,
oh yeah." Yes, man. And then there's some 80s stuff all over this too. Like, I mean, right on that first page, we got the goofy punk with the sunglasses that look like Geordie LaForge's visor. I mean, that's an 80s reference. We've got headbands. We've got bright colored clothing. It's just some great stuff to see. It definitely puts that 87 almost action kind of action movie feel to it. Ronnie, did you have anything throughout here that you wanted to talk about through issue 1?
Not really, other than it kind of set a grittier tone of the book. I mean,
did you know about Green Arrow's origin? Did you know anything about that before they told it in here?
No,
or this version of it. I don't know if this is actually how it happened.
I mean, I'm obviously, before I read this, I was familiar with his origin because I'm more familiar with the character now.
Yeah.
But when I was first reading comic books, when I could have read this but didn't, I had no clue.
By the way, the name of this first book is called The Hunters. It's on the cover. So I was looking on the inside. Mark, is this origin at all similar to what's on the Arrow show?
Yes.
It is?
Yeah.
Where he's like washed up on an island and he's got a... Oh, you guys have talked about the island a couple of times. I've heard you talk about... Is this the same island that's in this book, or is it something totally different?
Kun Lao or whatever it's called. Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. Well, in the TV show, just real quick, the TV show, yeah, he washes up on the island, and like the first year or so, he's on that island, and that's where he meets Deathstroke and Shadow, but he doesn't last long on there. And the first 4 or 5 seasons of Arrow, before they finally did away, before they finally had caught it up to where they didn't need to do those flashbacks anymore. Like, he was in Russia one season, he was in China another season, and he has said a number of times on the show, he was like, I was away for 5 years, but I wasn't on the island for 5 years.
Was that the only one that didn't care for the flashbacks that much?
It depends. There were some where I because they kept going back to his relationship with the Bratva. I liked the Russian stuff. Him in Hong Kong, I was like, who cares? And I honestly don't remember a whole lot else from those couple of seasons. Lots of death. Lots of people dying. But anyway, without focusing too much on the TV show, yeah, that's about right. I think there might have been some subtle differences. In the TV show, he's sleeping with his girlfriend's sister, and she ends up allegedly dying in the boat crash. And it turns out she also gets saved by the League of Shadows and all that stuff. But as far as what they talk about in the book, yeah, he's on a boat, it crashes, he ends up on this island, he comes back as a vigilante. That's about right. Okay.
Well, the one thing I kind of want to point out here, I've already touched on it, but it's a strong theme throughout the book is Ollie dealing with what he's gone through in the past, and kind of it mentioned there in the synopsis about how he's getting rid of his trick arrows. A lot of times he was kind of portrayed as this
comedic.
Yeah, he was comedic. He did the punching glove arrow,
boxing glove.
Thank you, punching glove.
No. The punchy punch arrow.
the big fisty arrows.
Bend over.
Whoa,
hey, God's name.
Where I was
is
going
wrong with you?
There. Ronnie, I'm sorry for what I've done to Jesse.
You have broken him.
Oh, man. So, anyway, they're going through, he's trying to deal with what he's gone through in his life, all this stuff, and he realizes that he's getting older, times are changing, and he needs to get back. One of the things I'm looking at the panel right now where he says, I've been wondering ever since, looking for that part that's missing, that part I forgot, the basics. So this is a start to his return to form, I guess I would say. And also there's a nod in here. Mark, I don't know if you've ever heard of this story arc or not, but have you ever heard of the Speedy story arc?
No.
Okay. This happened, I think, in the 70s. I'm going to pull up the...
It was the 80s, but I could be wrong.
You might be right. I don't know. I'm looking. Hold on.
Maybe not.
Well, here we go. And I cannot find it. Where's it at? I had it for a second. I know it was in Green Lantern, Green Arrow. That was the title. Let me go. Give me a second, guys.
This is the bit where Speedy's on drugs, right?
Yes, right. You got it. There's like a tiny
My
little.
Ward's a junkie.
There's a tiny little bit of an illusion there in the book where he's shooting up with heroin.
Like you do.
Like you do. I'm looking at this. Hold on, just give me a second. Speedy Green Arrow, not Speedo Green. That's not what I wanted. Ryan Speedo Green. That's a person.
Where did you go now, Speedy Gonzalez?
Speedy Green Arrow.
You never heard that song? Where did you go now, Speedy Gonzalez? Let me send you a link.
No.
What and where is it at?
We've brought the podcast to a dead halt.
Well, because I want to know.
Yeah, no, it was Roy Harper, and he was
Speedy Gonzalez.
He first appeared in More Fun Comics in number 73 in 1941, and y'all talk about yourselves.
Here it is. Okay. In Green Lantern Volume 2, 85 through 86, it was revealed that Green Arrow's ward,
71, I was completely wrong.
Speedy, was addicted to heroin. Speedy overcame his addiction with the help of the Black Canary. The story prompted a massive public reaction, including a congratulatory letter from the mayor of New York, John Lindsay. However, Green Lantern sales had been in a major decline at the time Green Arrow was brought on as co-star. And the O'Neill's Adams stories failed to revive them. Green Lantern was canceled with issue number 89 in 1972. So anyway, yeah, there you go. That's something I kind of wanted to nod to, because he mentioned about how that affected him so much that he thought of him as his son, and he almost lost him to drugs. So again, that 1987 drugs epidemic. Go ahead.
Well, that does bring up something I really focused on and do want to talk about is this idea of it kind of reminded me a little bit of the Dark Knight Returns, in that we have a character that's kind of in retirement and is starting to think about a future. Actually, God, I hate myself for doing this, but they just talked about in the last episode of Arrow, spoilers, that his lawyer says, "Why don't you just admit you're the Green Arrow and then bring up the fact that you've saved the city from being blown to smithereens like a dozen times?" And he was like, because if I do that, I will never stop being the Green Arrow. I will always have to be the Green Arrow. And at some point, I wanted my mission to be over, and I just wanted to live my life.
That's true.
And I think even on the show, he's tried to give it up a few times. He gave the mantle to John at one point. Him and Felicity went to go live in the suburbs. And at any given time, they really could have just stopped the show, and any one of those endings would have been satisfactory. But it's a popular show. It's one of the CW's more popular shows, so it keeps going, and they have to keep finding reasons for him to put the damn costume back on. But I like the fact that they address it. They address a similar theme in the comic book of him saying, I want kids. And I love the fact that Dinah basically says to him, like, I don't want orphans.
Yeah.
The life that we lead leads to everyone that we love being attacked, possibly, or killed. And it's not worth it to me.
Ollie's at a point in his life where he's thinking, I'd like to have a legacy with kids and a family. And I'm sure that as much as he loved crime fighting, you come to a point in your life where you're like, okay, I'm ready to settle down.
And I think we all get to a point in our lives where we kind of look around and you go, I have done my bit for God and country. This is the Iron Man argument in Civil War. It's like, we fight so that we can come home, and end the fight. Eventually this has to end. And then of course you have the opposing argument with Captain America is fight's over when it's over. You stop fighting when the fight naturally ends, not when you've decided it's over.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, him asking to have kids, I felt that was the inspiration for what happened during that crossover this past, during the wedding of the Flash, where he was asking Felicity about getting married. I mean, that felt like that was almost kind of from this. Okay. All right. So moving on. Let's get into issue 2, which is titled Dragon Hunt. So concerns grow in the underworld as more and more of Magnor's lackeys are finding themselves victims of the Robin Hood killer. That's the unnamed archer that we've been seeing. That's what the press has deemed her. Green Arrow talks to the police to review the clues left by this archer and the victims. Curiously, most of the targets are much older, and during World War II, none of them have military records. Returning home, Ollie finds a note left by Dinah that says she has gone undercover to find the cocaine dealer from the woman from issue 1 there. Ollie is left alone and sad. He is sad. Where he's singing happy birthday to himself in front of the candle. I felt for him so bad. The next day, Green Arrow he's driving around and he barely sees the archer go up a fire escape, and he gives chase. Confronting her on the rooftop, Green Arrow attempts to stop her from murdering her next target, but is too slow and ends up getting beat for his efforts as the archer escapes. Licking his wounds at home, Ollie hears on the news that the drug supplier Dinah had been investigating was found dead and mutilated earlier that day. Panicked, Oliver races to the dockside warehouse Dinah suspected the drugs were being distributed from. There, he finds Dinah tied up, tortured, and on the verge of death. Without hesitation, Ollie kills her torturer, one of Shadow's intended victims, along with the others in the drug lab, breaking that personal vow he once made to himself about not taking a life. Attempting to leave, another thug nearly gets the drop on both Ollie and Dinah, but the mysterious archer, which, as we mentioned before, we know her as Shadow, reappears and puts an arrow through the thug's eye, allowing the pair to leave just before the building explodes. So that is issue 2. We get more of Ollie feeling kind of down and out and unsuccessful at apprehending.
I thought you were going to go with peckish.
Peckish?
Ollie, then kind of peckish.
Does that mean like hungry?
Yes.
Sure. It sure does. So
I learned something today.
Ronnie.
Yes.
You learned about the throes of passion?
No.
Issue 2. I mean, what do you got to say here?
Pretty strong stuff, because like you said, he broke his vow. He never wanted to kill anything or anyone, or never wanted to kill again. But without hesitation, he sees the love of his life hanging there, bloody and beaten, and clinging to life. And what's he do? He puts an arrow through the guy's chest.
Can we compare this to someone like Batman, who also has a no-kill vow, and I don't think he's ever actually broken it?
No. Of course, I don't think he's ever been. Well, he kind of has.
No, depending on which iteration in universe we're talking about, the Joker beat the fuck out of Jason Todd, and then with the crowbar, then blew him up. He
can't. I mean, no fans voted to kill Black Canary in this.
No. What I'm saying is, just keeping in terms of the comic book, not getting into all the outside stuff. One of the things that makes Batman is that he has this incomparable, uncompromising moral compass, which is we are above death. It's the thing that drove the Injustice storyline. It's I think one of the things that makes Batman kind of an enduring character is that despite all the things that he's been through and all the people that have been hurt, he refuses to give himself over to clearly what he's described as these passionate feelings of wanting to kill these people, for all the pain that they've caused. And then you have a story here where someone who is a hero isn't able to keep to their moral compass. It's like, yeah, sure, I don't want to kill people. Killing people is bad, but not where hurting Dinah is concerned. And he's not able to help himself.
Well, yeah. I mean, when those panels came up, I was trying to ask myself, what would I do in his shoes? And I don't know if I would have struggled with it as hard as he did, but I didn't go through the trials, the tribulations that he did on the island. And
yeah, I also don't think we should be any of the three of us neckbeards should be comparing ourselves to fictional Oliver Queen, because again, I have not made a vow to never kill anybody.
Yeah,
and if somebody attacks my children, or my wife, I'm not going to promise that I'm not going to do anything about it. I don't feel obligated to make that promise.
Yeah,
but this character did, and so I think it's fair to say, you're the one that made the promise, And again, it's not like there aren't characters who have faced just incredibly tough odds out there. Again, depending on which storyline we're talking. I mean, Jesus Christ, isn't Green Lantern responsible for destroying Coast City?
Yeah, I think, it was,
and like murdering the entire Green Lantern's Corps.
Yes. I'm trying to think if Coast City was Green Lantern or if that was.
Yeah.
I can't remember, or if it was Hank Henshaw who blew up Coast City. And then
Coast City has been leveled multiple times.
I remember that's what drove him to being Parallax, though. I think that drove him over the edge.
What is Coast City not being blown up? I mean, really?
I mean,
now see, I can't, again, DC novice here, so I can't recall. But as for the promise itself, I mean, it's as good as the man is, and that's not to say that Ollie Queen is not a good man here, but you and I could make a promise not to eat a donut tomorrow. Okay. Guess what? There's going to be a temptation. There's going to be a donut right there on the kitchen table when I go in tomorrow.
Are we considering a crime of passion to be the same as eating a donut?
It's a promise. A promise is a promise. You
depends on how good of a donut it
is. Is that where we are in the conversation? All promises are equal. Promise not to eat a donut. Promise not to murder people. It's all the same. It's all relative.
It is.
To some people, it is, man.
It's that important not to eat that donut.
A promise is a promise.
It's that important to not eat that donut as it is not to take a life. Now, maybe different people are different, Mark Radlich. I don't know if you've been on this earth very long to understand that, but not everybody's the same.
Feel like there's still a difference between a promise to not murder people and a promise to not eat a pastry.
The consequences are a bit different. Yes, I will agree with that. But
the
again,
vow is different.
Okay, and realistically, but again, if you make a promise, I think it all comes down to the person that's believing in what they should and shouldn't do. It's going to be a different weight for somebody else. But yes, I understand where you're coming from. Trust me. But the thing I'm trying to say is that, when you're faced with reality and what's important in your life, and that being killed in front of your eyes, not just that. I mean, Dinah was going to be mutilated. This guy was bragging about how, do you want a piece of her? He was bragging to his buddy, like, do you want a piece of her before I get done with her face? Because by the time I'm done with her, you aren't going to want anything to do with her. He was going to mess her up. So, when it comes time to make a decision like that, you're either going, he could have done one of two things, Mark. He could have took this guy out and took his leg out, and that'd been the end of it. He had that, he had that decision, but instead the rage, the emotion that overtook his body, Batman could say he's not going to kill all he wants. It just shows that he's that much more in control of his emotions than Oliver Queen is.
Batman carried a pistol for a while.
Yes, he did.
Let me be clear. We are talking because someone's got to be listening to this and thinking, do they know they're talking about a fictional character?
Do you understand? Me and Oliver hung out last night. We had donuts.
Because I'm listening to us talk about this, and I feel like I need to reassure people, yes, we know that they are subject to the whims of the writers, but I was asking more of a philosophical question, as as fans of these characters, when well, I mean, let me rephrase it this way: do we feel like the writer handled this character appropriately?
Okay,
you know,
that's a good question.
By making him kill for Dinah, is that true to the most common iterations of this character?
Okay.
So in other words, like if somebody wrote a Batman story that the Batman just grabbed a machine gun and started just murdering people in the street, that's not a believable Batman, given the 100 years of of how the character's been handled, with many of the threads being pretty consistent. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. I know exactly what you're saying here. My opinion is that Mike Grell humanized Green Arrow. Instead of making him a comedian that we have all grown up to know him to be up to this point, I guess, he humanized him in this moment. Just like me and you. If we were in his shoes, would we have done the same thing? I'd like to say I wouldn't. Go ahead.
I made, you can say that we've all made a promise not to kill or not to, do, by saying, yeah, I'm going to follow the law.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Thank you, Ronnie.
Hold on. I'm thinking how I want to phrase this. Give me I'm sorry.
I know he was pausing to try to gather his thoughts, but he almost got a Mel Brooks out of me.
Yeah, I figured. But let me put, okay. So I made a promise by saying, yes, I will follow the law. I will, I will, be a law-abiding citizen. And that includes, that includes not killing people. And, you could even, break it down to, even the 10 Commandments, and say, I made a promise in my faith, not, thou shalt not kill. Mm-hmm. But I can say, if you come after my family or my friends, I'm going to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to make sure you don't hurt them by any means necessary. I made a promise, but it's not a conditional promise, but it's also there are conditions to each, everybody's story. The way that they react.
There's a line that can be crossed with you.
Yes, there is a line that can be crossed.
But I think I need to say this. I think this is very important. You've actually said that a couple of times as we've talked about these shows, about your friends and family are important to you, and mm-hmm. you are not above crossing a line if you feel like justice needs to be, dispensed by you for whatever the reasons are.
I don't even think it's justice. I think it's just protection.
Okay, call it what you will. The point is, I'm not making a judgment on that. I'm not even giving an opinion on it. That's entirely personal, and it's not what we're here to discuss. What I'm saying is, more even to the point, is that's very consistent with you. I've heard you say it before, and if somebody were to tell a story about you and brought that up, it would be very consistent with everything I know about you so far. Where I'm at with this, and where I'm still questioning it, and I think it's worth discussing, is what we saw in this story about this character consistent with the majority of iterations of this character? I mean, Jesse said it before. They didn't make him jokey.
Yeah.
But isn't his sort of jovial, sarcastic nature a big part of his character? And I'm not saying that these are bad things. I'm really not making. Look, I like the book.
Yeah.
I gotta keep stressing that I like the book, but I think it's worth asking: did the writer decide to just go his own way, 180 degrees away from the known character, or is this somewhere in line with what we know about this character? And it's hard for me to answer that, because I never read a lot of Green Lantern, but the little bit that I did know about him, I mean, it's hard for me to say this is consistent or not.
I'm right there with you. We've already said that earlier. We don't know a whole lot about the character of Green Arrow. We don't know. I do know he was more of in comedic nature. He was portrayed as more of more humorous, I would say, just like you were saying, jokey sometimes. But here's the thing. This is Mike Grell making a conscious decision to turn this character into a more grittier type. And it's not even gritty. This is nothing compared to the grittiness that we saw in The Dark Knight Returns. Mm-hmm. This is a human character that we all can identify with. You know, he's not going up against Superman. He's going up against crack dealers or thugs that are trying to rape his woman. So, you know, every character has to go into some type of an evolution at some point to either get away from that era's stereotype of that character. Aquaman, we talked about Aquaman on here. If you were comparing Green Arrow to Aquaman, I'd say the more hokier one was Aquaman for some reason. That's just my opinion.
I can talk to fish.
You know, that was back then. But, you know, we get the new 52 version of Aquaman, and we really enjoyed that iteration of him. They did a good job of making him a relatable character. And I think Mike Grell is doing that here. He's taking this character and he's saying, look, this is where this character is at in his life. You know, this is what's come before. Here's the decisions that he has to make. And hey, it's 87. These aren't going to be popular decisions. And here's the course that sets. There's a reason this story is considered one of the best. And that's because of probably this aspect right here, this moment in this book where he makes a decision to kill this guy that's going after Dinah. And I think it's worthy of a good discussion. And that's the mark of a good writer. We've talked about that. We've said that many times on here. When a writer can do something like this, make you interested and give us all fodder for conversation, that is the mark of a good book. So you have an opinion on it. I mean, Mark, do you think that it seemed out of character? You said you don't know. I imagine people who were reading this in 1987 that loved Green Arrow for what he was coming before this may have had big issue and thought this was pretty controversial at the time. I was just looking up Batman. We've talked about Batman just a few minutes ago. Batman, in his earlier iterations in the 40s, Ronnie Adams. Mm-hmm. I mean, he was a murderous son of a bitch.
Yeah, he was.
Before all of a sudden I assume the code come in, or I don't recall what exactly happened, but I know that got pushed to the wayside. I'm looking at a cracked article here that's the 6 most brutal murders committed by Batman. The first one is him hanging a guy. He hangs a mental patient from the Batplane in Batman #1 in 1940. That's vicious. But at some point,
is it Undertaker hanging the boss man vicious?
Oh, why?
Batman crushes people to death in junkyards, various issues. So I don't know. I mean, at some point, a character has to evolve. It has to kind of finally update itself with the times. And Mike Grell took the helm of this book and this character and did that. So that was a good discussion, guys. I mean, unless there's anything else, we'll move on to issue 3.
Let me add this. Just so I'm clear to people listening, you know, because I was thinking about the movies that we watch. You know, I've never seen John Wick, but the John Wick types where your hero, your protagonist, the person that you're rooting for is a murderous son of a bitch. You know, he's just killing everybody in his way, and even a few that aren't. And we cheer them. We're like, yeah, you know, these are our folk heroes, if you will. The people, you know, I was talking about this with the Death Wish movie. And, you know, your mileage may vary on how successful that movie was to you personally.
I love it.
But I mean, there's something that speaks to the American zeitgeist. I'm not going to talk about the rest of the world, but there's definitely something that speaks to the American zeitgeist about a lone man taking a gun and the law into his own hands and charging into the streets and killing bad people that hurt innocent people. You know, we cheer those people on, but what are they doing? It's cold-blooded murder. And those issues come up in both Death Wish and the new movie, and I want to say it came up in the original as well. where they're, at least as far as, the cops kind of reminding him that a world in which everyone takes the law into their own hands is a lawless world where, where innocents are still going to end up being shot. So this all started with me asking the question, do we still like Oliver Queen, even if he's immoral? And is he immoral because he took the law into his own hands and murdered people? But I had to remind myself, we're the same people that cheer Death Wish. We're the same people that cheer John Wick. So I guess I led us in a circular discussion that ended nowhere.
Listen, John Wick didn't kill anybody that was innocent.
They all deserved it.
They killed his puppy.
Oh, Lord. Okay.
No, they killed his puppy that his dead wife left him so he wouldn't be lonely after she died of some, I don't know if it was cancer or something, but she knew she was going to die, and she had an arrangements made for him to receive a puppy the day after the funeral. And to, it was named Daisy, and it was just the cutest little dog ever, and they killed it. So for anybody, to lose their mind and go on a rampage where he was a serial killer and not a serial killer, I'm sorry, a hired killer, an assassin, who they called the boogeyman anyway. I'm justifying John Wick.
I loved the Equalizer too. Equalizer was a great movie. When did Death Wish come out? What Death Wish were they on in 1987? Because that might be that might play into factor here too. That was probably Death Wish like 2 or 3 at this point. Do you remember when the original came out, Mark?
The original,
I know you didn't know. Yeah, you guys did it on trial for that. Right?
Yeah, I want to say it was 78.
So okay, all right. Let's move on. That was a great discussion, guys. We had a good discussion. Good question there, Mark. So let's get to.
Can we go back to Dinah's wig?
Dinah's. Oh man, hey.
Why is she fucking with the wig on? I need to know this.
I'll tell you right now. No, I better not tell you. If a girl,
Starcher.
So anyway, going to issue 3.
Fucking in the butt.
I stopped myself.
Fucking in the butt.
Stopped myself.
Ali likes to fuck the shit out of Dinah. Sorry, go on.
Oh my god.
Issue 3.
We got a little too serious. I have to break it up with nonsense.
Tracking Snow. Issue 3. Tracking Snow.
Tracking Jon Snow?
Not Jon Snow. And what is that? Is that one of those references to that book I've never read and that show I've never watched? That's what I thought. Dinah is in the hospital. And Ollie has decided he must still find the Archer to stop her from murdering more.
And then he runs into a White Walker. All right, I'm done. Go ahead.
There's probably quite a few Archers in that show, isn't there? Yeah, investigating the large dragon tattoo on the Archer's arm, it is evident that they are somehow related, that she is somehow related to the fearsome Yakuza gang. In a reveal to the readers, the Archer is shown to be Shadow. We've already talked about that. The daughter of a Yakuza agent incarcerated during World War II, where American soldiers, including Magnor himself, forced him to reveal a major cache of Yakuza gold. Dishonored, the agent killed himself in atonement. When Shadow comes of age, she is charged with killing those who dishonored her father and the Yakuza. The passing motorist she killed, I think in the first issue, was one of those soldiers who used the stolen gold to build a financial empire. After learning about what happened at the docks, Magnor warns his CIA contact Osborn that he wants better protection on their next deal. Osborn assigns weapons master Eddie Fires to eliminate Shadow. After killing another target, Shadow leaves a message for Ollie to meet her at Mount Rainier, where she intends to meet up and find Magnor and kill him. Although Ollie initially tries to stop her, he notices Fires aiming a sniper rifle at Shadow and moves to subdue him. inadvertently giving Magnor a chance to escape. Ollie also confronts Osborn about the use of Iranian arms, of an Iranian arms deal to fund Nicaraguan Contras, mirroring.
I really wanted to say Nicaraguan arms and legs.
Mirroring the events of the Iran-Contra story, which broke months earlier. Later, Ollie confronts Magnor in his office. Ollie intends to frame him for the murder of the drug supplier. Enraged, Magnor goes for his gun, but outside, Shadow shoots the target through the window and kills him. Returning to the hospital, Ollie confides to a still healing Dinah. He understands now why she would rather not subject children to this lifestyle that they live. So there we go. That's issue 3, finishing out the Longbow Hunters. So what do you think, Mark? What do you think of the conclusion of this story?
I think ultimately, the action of the story was pretty simple, but I think the deeper meaning of the story was about Ollie and Dinah, and the realization that because of the life that they chose, there's never going to be an end as such. There's never going to be a happy ending where they give up the masks and have a family behind a white picket fence. So I feel like this whole story is Ollie getting to that point where he realizes that he's made his bed and now he has to sleep in it regardless of the consequences. Mm-hmm. And it's a little sad. It's a little tragic.
Yeah, I'm sure shortly after he rescued Dinah, he probably thought to himself, I'm glad I don't have kids to come home or, to have to go home after a night like this and tell them that their mom's in the hospital and just about died at the hands of a psycho. So, that's...
even more than that. I mean, you have kids, they make for easy targets. Again, I hate to bring up the TV show, but, one of the characters is forced to testify against Oliver Queen, and the villain of the season marches the guy's kid right out in front of him in the courtroom.
Oh, wow. Ronnie, what'd you think of the ending of this story, man?
Yeah. I mean, Mark pretty much said it all.
Okay.
Let me put it that way. I'm not gonna lie. Towards the end there, I was kind of dialing it in by when reading it.
Yeah.
It was a good read, but after a while, it was just one of those things that I was like, eh.
I mentioned
I need to hurry up and finish this.
I mentioned the whole 1987 movie feel throughout this book. Did you see where I was coming from there?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay. I mean, it just had that.
You said that, and now all I can think about is the scene in Star Trek 4 with the punk rocker on the bus. And I hate you, and I berate you, and Spock then breaks his neck.
Boom! Yeah, right there, broke his neck. It was crazy.
And then everyone applauds for cold-blooded murder, and
they all watch Death Wish. They want to go watch it again.
Well, I was going to say they applauded for cold-blooded murder in the 80s, and now we're in 2018. Kids bring guns to school and blow away their schoolmates. There's a direct connection.
Legitimately had. Okay, my daughter did not go to the dance Friday.
Oh no!
And shortly after the dance, she stayed home, but all of a sudden social media blows up about how somebody had supposedly brought a gun to the school at the dance. And this kid had called his mom and thought he was going to die. I don't know. Here's the thing. That kid was either really frightened for his life that he had to call, but there were a lot of people who were like, nothing happened. So I don't know where the miscommunication happened, if it actually happened or if it didn't. But the story was that somebody had brought a gun to the school dance and was going to shoot up the place. These are middle schoolers. Okay. This is 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. And so, but the word got around, and this one kid was really frightened for his life to where he called his mom. And the cops got called, and of course they said no, it was some big misunderstanding, which most likely it probably was, or it was some kid being an idiot. There was a bomb threat. There was a bomb threat after school during a track practice. Now, what dumb motherfucker calls in a bomb squad or a bomb threat after school? You do that shit during school so you can get everybody.
Don't give people ideas,
right?
Well, I mean, I was sitting there thinking, I was like, well, that guy's got to be on the track. He's got to be involved in track somehow.
Jesus Christ! Welcome to the Anarchist Cookbook Podcast.
Oh yes, I tried to get my hands on that when I was a kid. When you're a kid, you do stupid things.
We're learning a lot about Jesse tonight. And I would like to say to the FBI agent listening, I don't build bombs. I don't possess bomb-making material. I don't possess a copy of the Anarchist Cookbook. I can
name 5 or 6 things that I learned as a kid that are probably in that book.
Okay,
I didn't read the book.
to the NSA agent listening to this podcast, I just want to say I love this country. I don't plan on bombing anything.
Yes, I do not build bombs. I am not a bomb maker. I can't even fucking make my bed.
Jesse Starcher is the mad bomber. What bombs at midnight?
All right. So,
did you get that reference, Jesse? Did you get it? Did you get it?
No idea. I'm still doing my bit. You make the joke, I don't get them. What the fuck was that about? What is a mad bomber at midnight?
No, it's the mad bomber. What bombs at midnight?
What bombs at midnight? Don't get it. Tell me. Is it Family Guy?
It's not Family. Believe it or not, this is the one not Family Guy reference that I made.
Yeah.
Ronnie, you want to tell him who the Mad Bomber is? What bombs at midnight? Well, I can send him the link.
You go ahead.
No,
Ronnie has no idea.
I know the reference. I just can't remember what it's from.
Yeah, this is what I got to do from here on out. I got to pretend like Ronnie Adams does. That's what I got.
I don't pretend. Listen, Starcher. I know the reference. I just can't remember what it's from.
Okay.
Why do y'all hate me?
Send me the link. It's this Monty Python. Is it Monty?
No.
It's not Monty Python. I am the Mad Bomber. What bombs at midnight? It's the Tick, by the way.
Yeah.
It's the Tick.
That's what I was gonna guess.
Wow. Oh shit, Ronnie.
No, I know the Tick. Chairface Chippendale.
I hope Mark.
I hate you all.
Post it on my wall.
I'm trying to find it.
All right. Well, let me give my final thoughts on this book.
No,
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
You can't. You mustn't.
This is by far been quite the surprise for me. I really didn't know what I was getting into. I thought it was going to be, when I heard the title Warlord, for some reason I really attributed that to a lot of words. Now I might be thinking of something different, another title. So I thought Mike Grell was going to be really, really overbearing when it comes to telling the story. I'm thinking of Walt Simonson, and I think he did a similar book, and I wish I could remember what it is off the top of my head. It's not Thor. He did something for DC, but anyway, I was very surprised. I really enjoyed what I read, and I think that the story was told very well. Pat Mullen criticized it a little bit. He said it wasn't his favorite. I'd say
no.
Now look, Pat Mullen hates a lot of things. He didn't hate this. He just said I think he just said it wasn't his favorite. So that's probably a very good compliment coming from Pat Mullen. I didn't like you a little bit, but it's a good story. So I really liked what they did here with what Mike Grell did with the character, the story that was told, and it was believable. I would definitely recommend it for my first Green Arrow story. It definitely is the best that I've read so far, the only one I've read so far, but I think it'll probably hold up against some of the other stuff that's out there. When we hit Kevin Smith's quiver at some point, which Ronnie will do, we'll do that at some point, I'm sure. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how it stacks up, but I enjoyed it. Mark, you enjoy yourself?
Yeah, I did. I absolutely enjoyed the book. I thought it was a good read. Short, quick, and to the point, and it wasn't, wacky wasteland levels of confusion.
All right.
Thank God.
Thank goodness.
Boy, that book gets a lot of play on this just by us comparing it. It's like
there are more people who have read that book now than needs to ever.
If something takes the mantle of Wacky Raceland, that is going to be.
I'm gonna throw the book into traffic.
Incredible. It'll be incredible. Incredible. All right, well, let's get into plugs here. That was a fun story. Had a good time. Ronnie, let's start with you, buddy. What's going on the Screaming Boy podcast?
I recently, once again, the Radio Legend Broadcast Network gets first release on.
We get the raw, bloody audio.
Yeah, you get the raw, uncut, director's cut kind of deal of our Movie Pass discussion. And Movie Pass discussed when it comes to Jesse Starcher.
Yes, indeed.
Jesse Starcher is much disgusted with Movie Pass. And there have been some updates to Movie Pass since said discussion, which are interesting. So we have to throw that.
Want to hear three neckbeards whine and cry about their Movie Pass? Listen to that podcast.
Listen. If you want to hear neckbeards and idiots whine and cry about Movie Pass, join the Movie Pass fan club on Facebook. Mark Radulich likes to argue, and he quit. Like, no, I'm done with you bunch of idiots.
Yeah, I couldn't take it anymore.
It's just, break out your tinfoil hats for Movie Pass.
I have a real problem. I feel like Movie Pass is costing the theaters money. Why do you come in here and complain about Movie Pass? Hey, what time is Peter Rabbit?
Yeah, all these people are like, it's a conspiracy. They're trying to take money from us, blah, 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 blah. And then one dude says, hey, what time is Peter Rabbit playing? I don't know. Why don't you ask the whole nation while you're at it? 5. It's playing at 5 o'clock. Go ahead and get your ticket. Just PayPal me the money. I'll pick it up for you. It'll be at will call.
That is probably the best. I mean, I'm sitting there at work, and I've got my headphones in, and I'm listening to this podcast, and we get to the last 5 minutes when Peter Rabbit comes up, and I'm laughing. I'm like, okay, I've got to turn this off, or people are going to start looking at me because it was hilarious. You folks, you at least need to listen to it and fast forward to the last 5 minutes of the podcast.
Right?
That's where it's at. My ire and my rage aside.
You got 2 turntables and a microphone. Where it's at. Got 2 turntables and a microphone. That was a good one, baby.
What else, Ronnie Adams?
I don't know. I was listening to that that interesting cover. There'll be some more shows coming up.
When are we doing the Cosby Show?
We're going to save that for this
Unpopular
network. Opinions.
Can we please name that the show? Unpopular opinions about Bill Cosby.
That just needs to be a whole podcast.
I'm starting a whole other podcast called Unpopular Opinions because most of mine are not popular.
Listen to 3 men, 3 of the least woke men in this country discuss Bill Cosby's sexual assault conviction.
The kids in there rocking and rolling.
Bill Cosby's innocence, you whore. Welcome to Unpopular Opinions.
I think the NRA is a good thing. Welcome to Unpopular Opinions, and that's the whole show. We were canceled after 2 shows. How can you cancel a podcast when nobody's really producing it, self-produced?
Did you guys watch Family Guy on Sunday?
No,
I did not.
So they did the whole thing is about millennials, and half it's about millennials, the other half is about internet culture. And at the beginning of the episode, they're showing like an old 1940s newsreel of what is it's like an educational film. And it's like, what is a millennial and what do they want? And at one point, they show you this gal sitting on a couch tweeting. It's like, this gal single-handedly started all the hashtags that got 13 network TV shows canceled.
Oh, my God. gosh.
And I just found out that she identifies as a man, and now I'm fired.
That's exactly how unpopular opinions will go.
Yeah. It'll be a million dislikes on YouTube. Delete your page, faggot.
No, don't be doing stuff. Sorry. Colton has decided to throw his teddy bear down the stairs.
Did you just yell out, don't be doing stuff?
No.
Don't be throwing stuff,
Don't be throwing stuff. He threw his teddy bear. Do not hang on that, man. You're going to hurt yourself.
Well, that escalated quickly.
Colton, don't do things.
I'm telling you, man, he comes down here. There is no wall to the stairs. There's like a drop off, and then it's my desk. He hangs off of the railing, sticks his head and stuff out over the drop off. And I'm like, dude, do not. You're going to hurt yourself. And one of these days,
that's going to end with you going to the emergency room.
He's going to fall. He's going to like tumble onto my desk and hit my keyboard and all sorts of stuff. Don't mess with the CDs.
I'm worried about the keyboard, not so much his head.
Tell him to stop. Tell him to stop doing ECW fucking scaffold bumps off your surface.
Yeah. All right. Continue.
Hey, New Jack. Knock it off.
New Jack Jr.
So my son pulled the I don't want to go to bed routine on me tonight where, but it's like his I don't want to go to bed routine is I'm scared of the dark, that shit. And so it was like, you know what, Joan? And I'm just tired of yelling at him because I don't want him to grow up and hate me and be like all his memories of me are of me either choking him in a rear naked choke and telling him create space, Joan, just try to get out of it, or yelling at him because he won't go to bed. Do
I need to call somebody?
No, I don't put a lot of pressure.
I don't put a lot of pressure on it. He just goes to sleep that way.
I'm afraid of the dark. Yeah, you will be.
Daddy, I don't know how.
Daddy, I forgot how to create spell.
Daddy, my windpipe. Anyway, so he pulled
I realized how inappropriate of a joke do I need to call someone was, so I apologize.
It's fine. So long story short, too late. I was like, you know what, Jonas? The daddy was afraid of the dark when he was a little kid. I had to sleep with a nightlight, and there were a lot of things that absolutely fucking terrified me. We've already discussed them tonight. And that's what I saw in the darkness. And I had a lot of nighttime anxieties when I was growing up as a kid. And I was starting to tell him about that. I was like, you know what, Daddy overcame it. It takes time, and just know that I'm here and nothing's going to get you as long as I'm in this house. And he looks at me and got none of that. He's like, wait, what made you afraid when you were a kid?
Oh, great.
So I started.
Don't tell me you started to show him.
I started to show him.
You are a shithead.
The last.
I thought I was rough on him.
I started to show him the last unicorn scene. Unicorn Haggard. And we didn't get to I still haven't actually gotten to the Unicorn Haggard part yet because either last week when we put it on, I turned it off halfway through because it was giving me the willies. And then tonight,
the willies. I
started to show it to him, and I was like, all right, so what do you think of the creepy skeleton? And he was like, yeah, he looks kind of creepy. He's like, what about this don't you like? And he got way serious on me. He's looking at this, he's like, I don't get what's scary about this. I'm like, shut up, faggot. So
oh my gosh.
I didn't say that to him. I thought it. But and I was like, no, Jonas, they're really drawn terribly. They're drawn very creepy. And he was like, okay. And he's waiting for something to be scary. And I'm like, damn it.
All right, you pud.
And then my wife walks out of my daughter's room and she sees what we're doing. And she's like, why are you showing that to him? He's trying to go to sleep.
The reasonable one shows up. Well, that's good. Thank goodness she's in the same house you are.
Wait, why don't you marry her, Jesse, and have 10,000 of her babies?
I have enough of my own, can't you hear? Dude, you have to go pee? All right, hold on. You guys keep talking. Ronnie, you finish your plugs. Throw it to Mark.
I think I'm pretty much done. You can find us on Facebook.
I feel like there's lots of fun stuff happening in Jesse's house right now. His kid just yelled out, "Yeah, party!" Hi, Ronnie.
Hey, buddy.
Should you plugs?
Yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Screaming Boy Podcast, Twitter @ScreamingBoyPR, Instagram Screaming Boy Podcast.
On the Instagram.
And then We got a lot of good shows on there. So go, and we're on iHeartRadio now.
Woo!
Yeah, Radulets, you're not the only one that can be on iHeartRadio. I don't know why I said that. I'm sorry. But go check us out.
Wasn't keeping it a secret, but okay.
I will throw plugs to you, sir.
All right. If you've been listening to this on YouTube, on the Source Material YouTube channel, God bless you. I don't know how you land. I don't know how you made it this far. But if that's the case, then tomorrow night on the Rattleton Broadcasting Network is an on trial for the movie Battleship. It was glorious. You were absolutely right about the peg bombs, by the way. I never connected that before until you said something, and I'm like, oh, that's hilarious.
It's amazing, is it not?
It really is, and there needs to be more of that. Can we continue to get bombs that look like pegs, and when they land, they actually like input themselves into things and then blow up? That's fantastic.
That's ridiculous.
Oh, it's so good. I'll tell you what, the movie in a way is supposed to get you to go out there and buy a Battleship game. I absolutely did after watching it. I was like, I need to go out and buy Battleship and play it with Jonas, who doesn't know how to count yet, but and doesn't know letters. Anyway, and I'm pretty sure when I read him who said moo tonight, he made the cat say yeah. He made the cat say hee haw. Oh. No, that's a joke. He knows his animal sounds, kind of.
No, he doesn't.
What does the pig say? All right. And then Wednesday we're going to be reviewing Ronnie Adams' new favorite album.
No,
Mindfucker.
It is old.
It never stops being funny to me. By Monster Magnet, which came out, I believe, last week. Next week, if you're listening to this on the Rattleton Broadcasting Network, then tomorrow we'll be doing it. Ronnie Adams and I, after he gets done listening to Mindfucker by Monster Magnet, we'll be, I think, joined by Sean Comer, and we're going to talk about season 6 of Green Arrow, the Caden James Diaz season, and we'll talk about all the things that led up to it. We'll take some guesses as to how the Arrow finale is going to go, et cetera, et cetera. And the Metal Hammer of Doom will be reviewing another one of Ronnie Adams' favorite bands, Dimmu Borgir. They've got a new album. Why do you resist?
I don't
know. There's a new album from Dimmu Borgir that will have just come out. We'll go ahead and review that. Oh, and just announced, we're going to do a watch-along here. We're going to do a commentary for one of the movies that scared the living piss out of me as a kid, The Last Unicorn. So that's fun. I'm going to take the hit on that one. And we'll watch it, and we'll see if I ever sleep again. Stay tuned.
Oh, boy. That looks like a lot of fun. All right, ladies and gentlemen, go give the Rattlich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. There's going to be something on there for you to enjoy. We're on Spreaker. We're on iTunes. We're on Stitcher. We're on TuneIn Radio. You can find us on those just about any podcast platform that's out there. Working on getting on Spotify, so be ready. It might happen, it might not. I don't know. I just know we're working on it, so keep an eye out there. Again, if you like source material, we've got 160 some plus episodes. There's something on there you would probably enjoy. It's me, Mark, Ronnie, and through most of them we have special guests that show up. Our last episode of He-Man Thundercats just dropped, so that was a fun discussion. But other than that, I think it's time to get on out of here.
I owe you an apology, by the way. You're absolutely right. Because of the way the arms are articulated, it would be a very ugly, very loose DDT.
All right. Well, now that we have come to our senses. The thing is that that poll is going to end. I don't know if it's ended today or not. Well, I don't remember getting a notification.
Well, no, I'm not admitting that I wouldn't rather wrestle with the He-Man figures than with G.I. Joe. But the question was, could you perform a DDT with a He-Man figure? And I thought the arms moved differently. I thought they moved on a swivel. They don't. It's all they can do is up and down.
Yeah,
and it's a stiff arm. It's very stiff.
I mean, you can't
so stiff.
I could go on for another 10 minutes, but I'm not going to. Just if anybody's listening live, you have probably a very finite amount of time to go and vote on who would put on, in Ronnie's words, a 5-star Matt Classic. Which franchise you going with? You going with He-Man or are you going with G.I. Joe? And as of right now, from what I understand, He-Man is winning this poll. So
I went
stupid.
I went to my buddy's house yesterday. He had a whole bunch of people over because he wanted to try out recipes for a food truck that he will probably never open. And I was sitting.
It's a good excuse to eat, though.
Yeah, no, I mean, basically, he threw a party. You know, like he hadn't had a day off. I mean, he mixes drywall for a living, and he hadn't had a day off, you know, in weeks. And so he was like, "I'll have people over. We'll make some Cuban food. It'll be great." So I'm
sorry. My dog just stepped on my balls.
And so I was sitting in the back, like his house is okay size, but there were a lot of people. So I'm like, I'm not staying inside the house. It's way crowded. And everyone like brought their kids. And of course the kids are all a bunch of maniacs. So I was like, this.
Oh yeah.
I ran away. I ran to the backyard and sat under a tent. And there was about like 6 or 7 guys all sitting in a circle. And all we did was talk about the Avengers and video games and computers and, you know, movies and whatever else. And my wife walked outside, lasted about 30 seconds. She looked at me. She was like, "Oh, you found your people," and walked away. You could feel the neck beardiness.
Nice.
It was thick. I wanted to take a picture and send it to my friend at work who didn't know what neckbeards were.
Look at it. I said, look at it.
It was like the High Council of Neckbeard.
Nice.
I was not there.
We were deliberating, passing new legislation.
Very nice. Very nice. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's time to say goodbye.
It's time to say goodbye.
Listening to this and is listening to this whole show. They're like, for the love of God, say goodbye
to all our company. MIC, see you real soon.
Oh no.
AYY, because we love you.
Negative.
MOUSE.
I thought it was because we like you.
Why? Because we love you.
That's creepy.
All right.
I can't believe people are voting for the Brave Little Toaster over the Rankin and Bass Hobbit. Bunch of communists.
How is it being?
Is it being better?
More likely to give a child nightmares.
Oh yeah, I've seen the poll.
No, if you want a child to cry themselves to sleep, then it's like out of sadness. It's the toaster one.
No, if you want a child to cry out of sadness, you put on fucking God. What was the name of the movie that my child like ugly cried at? The one with
Charlotte's Web.
The Darkness.
Yeah, that sounds like a great movie.
No. It's the whole concept of the movie is like this world is being eaten up by the darkness.
Never-ending story.
The never-ending story. Dude, Lily lost her shit during that.
Oh, boy.
It was the horse. What's the horse's name?
There's Atreyu and
we almost had to turn the movie off when Atreyu bites the dust.
No, the horse.
The boy
the
is
horse
Atreyu.
Atreyu's the boy. The horse's name.
Artax or
Artemis.
No.
Ajax.
No.
Asshole. Asshole.
Mark, don't let him talk to you like that, Mark.
I think you're right. I think it's
Thanos,
Artax or Atax. Oh shit! All right, going to the internet.
Anthrax.
Yeah, and there you go. The killer bees. Atreus' horse. Atreus' horse. Atreus' horse name. Here we go.
Please tell me it's horse.
Artax. You had it right.
I
there.
said that.
Yes, you did. 1984. We actually did a Screaming Boy on that show, didn't we?
Mm-hmm.
I thought we did.
And she liked it. The princess.
Oh, the princess did. That's right. I remember that. Let's get out of here. Okay, for the 9th time.
Yeah.
I'm Jesse Starcher. Ronnie Adams is over there.
I'm right here.
That's him. And then Mark Radlich, are you ready to sing us out of here?
Yeah.
No, put him on the spot. He can't sing something. Hold on. I'm just going to throw out. Throw out some random words here. Let's try. Pin. Nope. Nope. This is like the Rorschach test of his fucking song.
When you said Pan, and I immediately started thinking like Pantera, and I'm like, offhand, I don't know the words to any Pantera songs.
How about Wizard? Wizard. Well, you can't do this on fucking notice.
No,
this shit's got to be like random out of the blue stuff. Then
yeah, it's got to be. This is like jazz. I just do what I feel. Don't put me on the spot like that.
Don't put you on the spot.
No.
All right. Well, then I guess.
Are we still on the air?
We are still on the air. We're not going out of here until Mark Radlich sings us out of here. So, Mark Radlich, you got that feeling?
Goodbye to Sandra D.
Who the fuck is Sandra D?
Oh my God!
Grease.
Go watch Grease.
Grease. No,
you uncultured swine.
I was going to say you uncultured Philistine.
Yeah, motherfuckers watching Grease. I have not seen.
Oh my God! One day we have to wait. You've never seen Grease?
Never seen Grease.
Okay, skip Grease because it's actually a good movie. You need to see, and we need to do a commentary on it at some point. Is Grease 2? God, that is the worst.
It's terrible.
I'm gonna send you 2 songs, and they might actually give you more nightmares than the Rankin and Bass Hobbit.
Is that bad?
The worst. They are the.
I've heard that.
Who starred in Grease 2?
Hold on, Kurt Russell.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Right.
Okay.
Hey Ronnie, Michelle Pfeiffer was a cool rider. A cool rider. If he's cool enough, he can burn. I want to ride. That's cool.
God, this is so bad.
I have no fucking clue. No clue.
Okay. So other than Cool Rider, which has to be the lamest, like trying to be cool song I've ever heard. What's another bad one from that? Is it a Lover or Whatever for All Seasons? Is that the other bad one?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Look, going to YouTube.
Is that the one where they're stuck in the bunker too?
Oh, I don't remember the bunker. I just remember I want a Cool Rider. Well,
oh my gosh, it was like it was like that one cousin that nobody really talks about who tries to be like you, but you're really embarrassed of it. To Grease Lightning.
That sounds bad. It sounds horrible.
We need to do a Metal Hammer of Doom extra on just Cool Rider.
It's Grease Lightning.
Is there has to be a Grease 2 soundtrack?
There is. I just found the video.
I'm looking for the Grease 2 soundtrack.
Oh no, the worst song in here is Reproduction.
Oh my god.
Reproduction. Your body goes to work. Reproduction. Ugh. It's so bad.
Oh my god.
I wish there was a way to see which one was.
Jesse, start to take us off the air.
Oh, we're going off the air, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much for joining us. Have a great day. Bye-bye.